What a lovely basket you have.
Thank you, I made them.
They're beautiful. How much for one?
$1.
She wasn't begging for money. She was selling handmade ribbons for $2 each, because her mother's medicine had run out and there was no one else to help. And when a young CO stepped out of his luxury car and saw her standing there alone, he didn't just buy the ribbons. He asked one question that made her swallow hard and, "Welcome back to Acts of Kindness Stories, where real kindness writes the best stories." In the quiet town of Linden Falls, evenings arrived softly like whispered prayers. Streetlights flickered on one by one, casting golden pools across sidewalks where neighbors still knew each other's names and waved from front porches. The smell of home-cooked meals drifted through narrow streets, mixing with the sound of children playing their last games before bedtime. In a second-floor apartment above a closed tailor shop lived 7-year-old Eliza Foster, a girl with careful eyes that noticed everything and small hands that were always busy creating something beautiful from scraps. Her mother, Clara Foster, had once worked 3 cleaning jobs: offices in the early morning before the sun rose, a daycare in the afternoon when toddlers needed patient hands, and a diner on weekends when everyone else was resting. She'd laughed easily back then, her voice like music floating through their small home. She sang while cooking, hummed while folding laundry, told stories that made Eliza believe the world was full of magic waiting to be discovered. But sickness has a way of arriving quietly and staying loudly, uninvited and relentless. It started with fatigue that coffee couldn't fix. Then came pain that pressed into Clara's bones like an unwelcome guest. Then days when she could no longer stand long enough to cook a simple meal without gripping the counter for support. Now she lay on a thin mattress near the window, her breathing shallow and labored, her skin warm in a way that worried Eliza more than anything she'd ever felt before. Eliza noticed everything children shouldn't have to notice. The way her mother paused halfway across the room, pretending to look at something just to catch her breath. The way pain flickered across her face before a smile quickly replaced it. Always the smile, always for Eliza. The way prescription slips stayed folded on the kitchen table, untouched, gathering dust like broken promises. One evening, as golden light painted their apartment in shades of amber, Eliza brought her mother a glass of water with both hands, walking carefully so she wouldn't spill a drop. "Mom," she said gently, setting the glass on the nightstand, "does medicine cost a lot of money?" Clara hesitated, her tired eyes searching her daughter's face. Then she smiled, that same practiced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. "Sometimes, sweetheart. But we'll manage. We always do." Eliza nodded slowly, but her gaze drifted to the unpaid clinic receipt half hidden beneath a stack of mail. She could read well enough to understand the numbers, and numbers didn't lie the way smiles sometimes did. She had heard the doctor's words through the thin clinic curtain 2 weeks ago, his voice serious and concerned. "She needs consistent medication, Mrs. Foster. And rest. Real rest. Without it, I'm worried about what might happen." That night, after tucking her mother in and kissing her forehead, Eliza sat cross-legged on the floor beside the bed and counted the coins in their chipped blue bowl, the one they used for emergencies. 73 cents. The coins didn't add up to hope. They didn't even add up to 1 day's worth of medicine. But Eliza Foster wasn't the kind of child who gave up easily. The next morning, while dawn was still painting the sky in soft pinks and purples, Eliza didn't wake her mother. She moved through their apartment like a shadow, quiet and purposeful. She tiptoed to the small table where colorful yarn and thread sat in an old shoebox, remnants from when times were better and her mother had taught her to braid ribbons for fun. Little headbands for dolls. Friendship ties for classmates. Decorations that made ordinary things beautiful. Eliza worked with the concentration of someone 3 times her age. Pink ribbons woven with silver thread. Blue ones tied with tiny white bows. Yellow ribbons braided so tightly they shimmered in the early light. Her fingers moved carefully, methodically, her tongue peeking out slightly the way it always did when she focused hard on something important. When her wicker basket was full of ribbons that looked like captured rainbows, She found a piece of cardboard and wrote in her careful, slanted handwriting. Handmade ribbons, $2 each. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, basket clutched against her chest, looking back at her mother's sleeping form. "I'll be back soon," she whispered into the quiet apartment. "I promise." Then she walked out into the morning, her small shoes making soft sounds on the wooden stairs. 3 blocks down Hawthorne Street was Crossing Point, the nicest restaurant in Linden Falls. The kind of place with white tablecloths and valet parking and people who dressed up just to eat dinner. Eliza had passed it countless times on walks with her mother, always noticing the shiny cars parked out front on weekend evenings. In her 7-year-old reasoning, shiny cars meant people who had money. And people who had money might have hearts generous enough to help a girl trying to save her mother. She positioned herself near the entrance, not too close to seem pushy, not too far to be overlooked. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a bird trying to escape a cage. People passed by in their nice clothes and expensive perfumes. Some smiled kindly but kept walking, their minds already on reservations and appetizers. Some didn't see her at all, their eyes sliding past like she was invisible. One woman paused, looked at the ribbons, then shook her head and hurried inside. Eliza adjusted her basket with small, determined hands and whispered to herself the same words her mother always said when things got hard. "Be brave, sweet girl. Just be brave." The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, when a sleek black Tesla pulled smoothly to the curb. The driver's door opened and out stepped Julian Hart, 34 years old, CEO of Hartwell Solutions, wearing a tailored suit that probably cost more than 3 months of Clara's former salary. His shoulders carried the weight of board meetings and quarterly reports, his mind crowded with numbers and deadlines and decisions that affected hundreds of employees. He adjusted his jacket and started toward the restaurant entrance, already mentally rehearsing the business dinner awaiting him. Then he saw her. A small girl with dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail. Alone. Holding a basket of colorful ribbons like they were made of gold instead of yarn. Something in Julian's chest tightened. He slowed his pace, then stopped completely. Eliza took a deep breath, gathering every ounce of courage she possessed, and stepped forward. "Mr." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Julian crouched down immediately, bringing himself to her eye level. When he smiled, it reached all the way to his eyes, genuine and warm. "Well, hello there," he said gently. "What brings you out here all by yourself?" She lifted her basket with both hands, displaying her creations proudly. "I make ribbons. Handmade ones." His smile widened. "I can see that. They're absolutely beautiful. You're quite the artist." A shy smile broke across her face. "I made every single one with my own hands." Julian picked up a blue ribbon, examining it carefully like it was a priceless artifact. "You know what? These are nicer than anything I've seen inside fancy stores. And you, young lady, are even more beautiful than these ribbons." Eliza giggled, covering her mouth with one hand the way children do when they're delighted and embarrassed at the same time. "Would you like to buy some?" she asked hopefully. "I'm saving money for my mom." Julian's expression softened into something deeper than politeness. "I would absolutely love to buy them. How many are you hoping to sell tonight?" She thought hard, her face scrunching up with concentration. "All of them, if that's okay. But I know that's a lot, so even just a few would help." He nodded seriously, treating her words with the respect they deserved. "Then I'll take all of them." Her eyes went wide. "Wait, you don't have to buy so many, mister. That's too much." "I want to," he replied simply. "In fact, I'd like to pay a little extra if that's all right with you." "Really?" The word came out breathless, disbelieving. "Really?" She hesitated, then her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "My mom is sick. She needs medicine and we don't have enough money and I don't know what else to do." Julian's heart cracked open right there on the sidewalk. He swallowed hard against the sudden emotion rising in his throat. What's your name, sweetheart? Eliza. Eliza Foster. Well, Eliza Foster, my name is Julian. And I have an idea. Would it be okay if I met your mom? Maybe I can help more than just buying ribbons. Eliza studied his face with the careful scrutiny of a child who'd learned too young that not all adults keep their promises. She looked into his eyes, searching for something, honesty maybe, or kindness that went deeper than words. You promise to be nice to her? She asked seriously. She gets embarrassed about being sick. Julian placed his hand over his heart. I promise. Cross my heart. After another long moment, Eliza nodded. Hey. But we have to be quiet when we go in. Sometimes she's sleeping. The apartment was modest but spotlessly clean. The kind of clean that came from pride, not privilege. Sunlight streamed through thin curtains, illuminating worn furniture that was nevertheless carefully arranged. Everything had its place. Everything mattered. Clara Foster tried to sit up when they entered, alarm flashing across her tired face. Eliza. Her voice was weak but urgent. Sweetheart, where have you been? Who is this? It's okay, Mom, Eliza said quickly, rushing to her bedside. This is Mr. Julian. He bought all my ribbons. All of them. Julian stepped forward slowly, giving Clara space to process his unexpected presence. Mrs. Foster, I'm Julian Hart. I hope you don't mind me coming by. Eliza told me you've been unwell, and I wanted to see if there's any way I might be able to help. Clara's eyes filled with tears, shame mixing with gratitude and exhaustion. I'm so sorry. She shouldn't have bothered you. We're managing just fine. Mom, Eliza interrupted gently, placing her small hand over her mother's. We're not managing. And that's okay. Mr. Julian wants to help. Julian pulled up a chair and sat down, his expensive suit wrinkling against the simple furniture. He listened, really listened, as Clara explained her condition in halting sentences, each word costing her precious energy. Chronic illness. No insurance. Medications she couldn't afford. A body that wouldn't cooperate no matter how hard she willed it to. He noticed everything the doctor would want to know. Her labored breathing, the grayish tint to her skin, the way she winced when she tried to adjust her position. Mrs. Foster, he said gently after she finished, with your permission, I'd like to take you to the hospital tonight. Just to have a doctor look at you properly. Clara shook her head weakly. I can't afford. You won't need to worry about that, Julian said firmly but kindly. Please. Let me do this. Tears spilled down Clara's cheeks. I don't want to scare Eliza with hospitals, Anne. Eliza squeezed her mother's hand tight, her voice stronger than either adult expected. I'll be brave, Mom. Just like you taught me. We'll be brave together. Julian looked between them, this mother and daughter who'd been fighting alone for so long, and made a decision that would change 3 lives forever. Then let's get you some help, he said softly. Right now. At Linden Falls Medical Center, the emergency room buzzed with quiet efficiency. Nurses moved quickly but calmly, their scrubs rustling as they checked vitals and asked questions. A doctor named Dr. Patricia Chin reviewed Clara's chart, her brow furrowing with concern. She was in her 50s, with kind eyes that had seen too many people wait too long for help they desperately needed. She's severely dehydrated, Dr. Chin said to Julian in the hallway while Eliza stayed with her mother. And her infection has progressed significantly. Another few days and we'd be looking at something much more serious. You absolutely did the right thing bringing her in tonight. Julian felt his stomach drop. Will she be okay? With proper treatment and rest, yes. But she needs to stay here for at least 3 days, possibly longer. And she'll need medication and follow-up care after discharge. Whatever she needs, Julian said without hesitation. Whatever it costs. Dr. Chin studied him curiously. Are you family? No, Julian admitted. Just someone who happened to be in the right place at the right time. The doctor smiled. Then Mrs. Foster is very lucky. And so is that brave little girl in there. Inside the room, Eliza sat beside her mother's hospital bed, her small legs dangling off the chair, not quite reaching the floor. She'd been so strong, so brave, but now her chin trembled slightly. "Sweetheart," Clara whispered, reaching for her daughter's hand. "I'm going to be okay. I promise." "I was scared," Eliza admitted quietly. "I didn't know what else to do, so I made the ribbons. Was that okay?" Clara pulled her daughter close, tears streaming down her face. "That was more than okay. You saved my life, baby girl. You saved my life." When Dr. Chin returned with Julian, she addressed Clara directly. "Mrs. Foster, we're going to start you on 4 fluids and antibiotics tonight. You'll feel better within hours, I promise. But you need to rest and let us take care of you." Clara nodded, too exhausted to do anything else. Julian stepped forward, his voice gentle. "I've handled the paperwork and payment for your stay. Please don't worry about any of that. Just focus on getting better." Clara's eyes widened. "Mr. Hart, I can't possibly accept." "You're not accepting charity," Julian interrupted kindly. "You're accepting help from someone who believes your daughter is one of the bravest people I've ever met. And she got that bravery from you." He glanced at Eliza, who was watching the adults with those careful, knowing eyes. "Besides," he continued with a small smile, "I bought an entire basket of ribbons. This is just me making sure the artist's mother stays healthy enough to teach her more beautiful things." 3 days became 5 as Clara's body slowly remembered how to heal. Color returned to her cheeks. Her breathing steadied. Her smile became real again instead of forced. Julian visited every day, bringing books for Eliza and sitting quietly with Clara when she felt strong enough to talk. On the 4th day he arrived with something unexpected. A job offer. "It's remote work," he explained, pulling up a chair. "Data entry and customer support for my company. Flexible hours so you can rest when you need to. Full health insurance included. And the pay is fair, more than fair." Clara stared at him, disbelieving. "Why would you do all this for us?" Julian was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. 5 years ago I was broke and desperate, sleeping in my car while trying to start my business. An elderly woman named Mrs. Patterson found me one morning and brought me coffee and a sandwich. She didn't know me. She didn't judge me. She just helped. And she told me something I've never forgotten. Someday when you're on the other side of struggle, you'll remember this moment. And you'll know what to do. He smiled at Clara and Eliza. "This is me knowing what to do." Eliza climbed onto Julian's lap, something she'd been too shy to do before, and hugged him tightly. "You're a good person," she said seriously into his shoulder. Julian hugged her back, his eyes wet. "I'm trying to be. Just like you." 2 weeks after leaving the hospital, Clara was strong enough to start her new job from the small apartment Julian had helped them move into. A ground-floor unit with better heat, no leaking ceiling, and a bedroom where Eliza could actually close the door. The medication worked. The rest helped. The worry that had lived in Clara's chest for months finally disappeared. Kindness doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it waits in a small wicker basket, held by a brave child who refused to watch her mother suffer in silence. Sometimes it shows up in a businessman's expensive car, in the form of someone who remembered what it felt like to need help. Sometimes it looks like ribbons sold for $2 each, and sometimes it looks like a man who understood that the greatest wealth we can possess is the ability to ease someone else's burden. The truth is this: we're all just one crisis away from needing grace. And we're all just one decision away from being the grace someone else desperately needs. Eliza Foster sold ribbons to save her mother. Julian Hart bought ribbons and found his purpose. And in that exchange, $2 at a time, the world became a little bit brighter. If this story touched something deep in your heart, if it reminded you that small acts of courage can change everything, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications so you never miss a story that might restore your faith in humanity. And drop a comment below telling us, who taught you that kindness matters? Who was your Julian Hart or your Eliza Foster? Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next story.